Alright, what's up YouTube boxing family? It is K-Rod here. I'm back with another good video for y'all today. So, yeah, let's get right to it, man. Um, First of all, I just want to say thank you for the subs. The shorts I be posting are pretty good, so like I just be doing what I gotta be doing, and yeah, let the grind don't stop. So, appreciate y'all. But yeah, let's get right to it, man. Let's talk about Bruce Carrington. Uh do I think he's ready for the high level, or is Bruce Carrington a hype job? Um yeah, so let's just talk about him because everyone seems to think that Bruce Carrington is just this super high class fighter, but I don't see it to be like that. I don't believe in prospects in boxing, but I'm not afraid of, saying that, if a man's ready to be, that guy for the high level, then by all means, put him in there. But, the problem is just that the way Top Rank is moving him, I don't like how he's being moved. And that's just simply just due to the fact that I just don't see Bruce Carrington's development be moved efficiently. And I mean, don't get it twisted. I mean, he is a very, very good fighter. But I think knowing that he's 3-0 and he's 24 years old, I think it's time to like move him super duper fast. Like give him some like high class, undefeated fighters. Just give him guys that are going to just bring him, the distance. Like give him, some guys that are going to make him go 10 rounds or 12-round fights. Because I'm pretty sure he's ready for, like a 10-rounder. It's not like that, you should be feeding him just bum after bum, because eventually he's going to get comfortable with that level of competition. And I don't like that for him. I think Bruce Carrington should fight guys that are definitely, up there, in the top 100. I don't really know too many of these guys looking at BoxRec. He could definitely fight Adon Ochoa. I'm not too sure if he fights on Top Rank, but I think, I think that's a good fight. Put him in there, with a guy like him or Abel Mendoza. I think that's a really, really good style matchup. He could definitely fight him. This guy definitely has some pop, and, he has knockout power, but put him in there with guys that we want to see him in there with. Obviously, people would want to just say, oh, well, no, like, you gotta, like, move him slow because he's a prospect. Nah, fuck all that prospect shit. You're a fucking professional athlete, and you have to fight the best to be the best. But I would personally like to see him be moved extremely fast, because you're 24 years old. You don't really have too much to really, sit around with. And I think he should fight guys like Miguel Flores or a Jalen Walker, because I think Jalen Walker would give him a shitload of problems, but that's a damn good ass fight. I like to see a Misael Lopez. I wouldn't mind a Felix Caraballo. I think Felix Caraballo would be a really good ass fight. Anybody that is notable, like Brandon Valdez, like that's a good notable opponent. That's definitely on the come up in 130, or anybody that we want to see him in there with. Like, the thing is that Bruce Carrington has a lot of great high stock in where he could be in possibly, like a year or two. But the thing is that if he's not being, like, if he's not being moved, a certain way where we want to see him in those big fights, then he's not going to go anywhere. So I think what needs to happen is that he needs to start calling out some, some high class, undefeated fighters so that way he can start branching out his name more, because it just seems like he's letting he's letting Top Rank do everything for him, and I personally don't like to see that out of him. I think he is at that point where he really needs to start, looking at decent names where he could start campaigning his career. And regardless if he's gonna campaign at 130 or 126, I think Bruce Carrington needs to start fighting more undefeated fighters if he wants to get his name up there, because the man is not gonna get any younger. And I think, like, once you came into the sport late, you're gonna end up doing something real stupid on the business side of things to let to let promotional stables like Top Rank shelf you, and basically let you wait like a couple months in time just to be fighting bum after bum. And then they're not really going to be promoting you that much. They're going to be promoting you for cards that are known to your area, but no one really ever cared about Bruce Carrington until he started fighting at the Madison Square Garden. But prior to his professional debut, the only people that really cared about him fighting was like the people coming out of the black American fighting, basically the Black American fight fan stables that actually knew about him. But other than that, he wasn't really that big of like a draw to the public to say, okay, this kid's gonna be doing something in the division that he's gonna be campaigning at. And the thing is that if you're gonna come into the sport late, you really need to be moved extremely fast in your career, because the thing is that if you're not going to move fast in your career, then there's no point of you being this type of highly class leveled amateur fighter, and then you're coming into the pros getting soft touches. So I personally like to see Bruce do his thing a little bit more. He needs to be calling out some high-level opposition. I think, honestly, if he fights at 130, I think he could smoke a lot of guys at 130. I'm not saying that he's going to be the best at 130, because that's almost like the same shit that everyone's doing now with Shakur Stevenson in a way. But, obviously Shakur Stevenson is a whole different fighter from Bruce Carrington. But let's just say Bruce Carrington, if he starts fucking around and beating up undefeated, highly leveled, veteran level fighters or contenders, then you got to give that man his credibility. But I'd say until then, we're not going to see that, until maybe at least like a year or two. But it's like, the way Bruce is getting moved is like, he should be in the ring like almost like every other month. So I don't know what Bruce is planning on doing. Hopefully he can get it together, because I don't like seeing guys coming into the sport late and then they're not, being active enough. Because obviously, compare his come up right now to like a guy like Lomachenko. Lomachenko, he was obviously politically strategized by the financial backing of Top Rank and whoever was, holding the cards behind closed doors to give him all these soft touches and then get title shot after title shot through political protectionism, where he was able to get his very first title shot in his fucking second fight to Orlando Salido, and then he fucks around and loses, and he doesn't want to, ever rematch Orlando Salido again, in which Orlando Salido, he missed weight, prior to that fight, but then, the WBO breaks their fucking rules and then basically allows Lomachenko to re-challenge for the title, in which by their rules, you're not supposed to re-challenge for the title if you came off of a recent loss. So Gary Russell was supposed to get that vacant belt next, and Lomachenko, he basically says, well, fuck you guys, because the WBO, protects me. And Bob Arum, he has political ties with them, so therefore, he's able to get away with that. But still, people will say, oh, well, he's a two-time Olympic gold medalist, and Lomachenko deserved to get this title shot, and his amateur pedigree, washes everything away from him being a prospect and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's the same bullshit that people are doing for Triple G, Canelo, all this stupid shit that people want to say just to protect a fucking hopeless fighter. Because I swear to God, if they were on the coincidental, Lomachenko, Canelo, Triple G, all these guys, if they didn't have the political financial backing to protect them, they would all have to get it from the mud. That's true. If Errol Spence was white, and guess what? If he didn't give a shit about, all these promoters and all these like Hypejob, train, outlets, basically giving him all this praise, and he still wanted to get it from the mud, and he had his promises from day one all the way to the end, I would still respect the shit out of EJ. Because if EJ was white and he did the things that he does now, nobody would ever hype him up. He would still be hated. That's true. But when it comes to racial identity, the black fighter always has to work harder compared to any other fighter. I wouldn't necessarily say that. The black fighter does work harder, but next to a black fighter, Hispanics also have to work just as hard too. But if you are on the hopeless, regardless of your racial, ethnicity, well, obviously yes, if you're black, then yeah, like you're not gonna be on the hopeless unless you're cooning, for some, political, promotional stable. But still, aside from that, if you are a hopeless fighter, you don't have to work as hard. And those are usually the European bred fighters or fighters that come from a political boxing stable that gives them the ability to do whatever the hell that they want. But if you are a Black Murderers Row type of fighter, in which you come from the coincidentalists and you don't have too much to really grow off of course you have to work 10 times harder, but it's based off of how you move too. So in regards to Bruce's, situation here, I don't want to see him in a situation where he's letting Top Rank and the matchmakers with ESPN or whoever to start moving his career however they want to do it for him. Because eventually they're going to start feeding him fights where he's going to feel comfortable. Top Rank's going to hype up this new Black American star, in which, honestly, after all this bullshit with Terrence Crawford, you ought to think that would be the main goal, because Top Rank is basically bankrupt. They don't really have that much money that people say, that they do. And I'm pretty sure most of their money is probably coming from ESPN. And whatever they make off of a fighter, they're probably getting a massive cut, off of their purse or fight purse. So either way, top ranked fighters, especially Black American, athlete talent is very vital to the roster. But to Bruce's case is that he's in a position where Top Rank has so much to really offer to the table, and there is so much talent that Bruce can fight. But the thing is like, how is Top Rank going to move a fighter like Bruce? And if they're going to keep everything in-house, who the hell who the hell is he going to fight to keep himself, in the mix? Because, regardless if he's going to fight at 126 or 130, but, the belts are not, really staying with Top Rank. Top Rank belts are really held between Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez that are going to unify. And then, fucking Kenichi Ogawa and who's the other dude? Kenichi Ogawa and who's the other dumbass 130 pounder? Oh, Roger Gutierrez. Yeah, Roger Gutierrez. He's the WBA actual champion. in which I'm not too sure if he's a super champion. You know, honestly, they got to get rid of that super champion status. But yeah, Roger Gutierrez, he's the current champion as of now, but he'll be fighting Hector Garcia to, you know, make his title defense, and then I guess that the winner of that will, you know, end up unifying the belts. But no, like, I mean, top rank doesn't really have too much of a good, you know, belt stable as far as having that many belts in their control. But for Bruce's case is that who the hell are you going to be fighting at a top rank that's going to give you those type of skill builder fights? Because the problem that I have with Bruce Carrington is that he's a damn good fighter. Don't get it twisted. You know, the man can box, he can bang, he has great ring IQ, his defense is just on fucking point. I mean, he rarely gets hit. But the thing is that you're seeing it, you know, against D-level competition. You know, competition that we already know that's not going to keep up with Bruce. But imagine if that was like a Chris Colbert in front of him, or Hector Garcia, or that Dominican kid that Carlos Arieta got knocked out by. You know, any of those high quality names that can push Bruce to that level, I like to see it now, because people want to talk about, oh, well, the amateur pedigree matters more to fighters that come out of the Olympics or just come out of a good amateur school system, does better for boxing. Well, why not fucking move them fast? You know, if they're so good of a fighter and they have such a great amateur pedigree, then move that fighter fucking fast. Because, you know, compare Bruce to, you know, that female fighter, Christina Cruz. She should be moved fast too. Why not? Give her some, you know, world championship level contenders. I'd like to see her in the ring with them. But it's like, there's a double standard when it comes to fighters that are on the hope list and coincidental. Because if Lomachenko was able to basically get through all the bullshit where he didn't have to work as hard to get to a title, but he could basically re-challenge and reunify and re-vacate and regain his vacated belts just to keep himself as a champion, that just shows how mentally weak fighters are to not go through the mud and go through the hardship of beating the top-notch fighters to keep yourself relevant. Because if Lomachenko can't do that, then I'm pretty sure most of the fighters that are hyped up now are not that good as they say that they are. But compared to guys like Bruce Carrington or Christina Cruz or Clarissa Shields or anybody that has a high amateur ceiling, they should all be moved fast. Because if you guys say that the amateurs is necessary to be good as a pro, then fuck it. Prove it to me as a fucking consumer, where I put my money to go see you. Because if Bruce is such a good fighter, we need to see Bruce in these fights now. I don't want to see him be fighting for a world title when he's, you know, damn near close to 30 years old. So I like to see him be stepped up now. And then that actually rewards him later, in which he could start being that high-level fighter. Because the minute Top Rank decides to screw black fighters over again is when they start building them up to a certain degree of which their hype is going to be, you know, propped up, and then all that hype is going to get inside their head, and then they're going to feel too comfortable fighting opposition that they know that they could beat. And then eventually, you know, they're going to basically be fed to somebody that's going to beat them. And I think that's what's going to happen to destroy a fighter. But that's not to say Bruce isn't going to go through that. It's just that where Bruce is at in his career is that he really needs to start being more aggressive to Top Rank and Bob Arum or whoever's working the matchmaking to say, give me undefeated fighters only. Give me guys that I want to fight that are going to push me. Because if he's not going to go through that, then I'm not going to believe in his skills and talents as a fighter until he starts fighting high level opposition. And people want to tell me, oh, nah, man, like you're pushing him too fast, blah, blah, blah. He needs to move slow. And it's like, you don't understand how difficult it is to actually say that, because most people that haven't boxed don't understand the level of punishment you take in a fight. So the level of opposition that you fight in boxing compared to any other sport is that in boxing, you're getting hit in the fucking face against somebody that is just as good as you, or if not as better than you, for the sake of taking the least amount of risk versus taking the highest amount of risk that will give you either a cost-benefit analysis of you not being benefited, of which you could end up possibly dying in a fight because you are fighting a very, very dangerous opponent, or if you want to keep fighting fed bums to you, then you're getting a net benefit gain of you facing the least riskiest amount of competition for the highest amount of gain in financial success. That's why you see so many fighters today in which they're actually getting paid better, but they're facing shitty level opposition. That's why you see like the Liam Smiths of the world, or the Anthony Fowlers of the world, or the Felix Cashes of the world fighting guys that we don't even fucking know, but they end up fucking around and damn near upsetting the apple card over in the UK. But that's how it usually fucking works, because how it works over in the UK versus how it works over in America or wherever, you see these fighters that are being propped up and they create a web, or more like they create a hierarchical class of these certain leveled fighters, where the high level fighters that don't want to fight each other, they end up facing lower level fighters, and then the lower level fighters will end up facing other lower level fighters to make sure that let they hype up their career until they get knocked off by somebody that's better than them that they never knew fighting or getting into a fight with them. And it's to a point where the fighters themselves today, compared to those that were actually more competitive back then because they needed to make money, but they're also trying to expand their branding as a fighter and do it for the love of the sport, for pure entertainment. A lot of fighters now are taking a lot of least riskier fights because they don't want to be exposed by those that are better than them. So in Bruce's case is that he has the tools to be a world champion very, very quick. But in order for him to get up to that level, I think Bruce really needs to start demanding very tough opponents. Fight solid level 10 round base fights against opponents that are going to push you and actually help you grow. And obviously don't I'm not saying like Bruce should be fed top 25 guys, but I'm saying like for starters, give him opponents out of the top 100 that are going to give him some hell, but he's going to have to prove it to you to show how good he is. Because I'm pretty sure he can prove it to me to show how good of a fighter he is. But the thing is that if he's fighting lower level opposition that I know he's going to crush and defeat, then it kind of makes me not want to look at him anymore, because it's like, all right, dude, you know, if you're gonna keep fighting with the same dude or the same type of people that are going to come into the fight with like a really semi decent bad record, then I'm like, nah, like I'm not looking for that type of fight, and I don't care to see that fight because I know what the outcome's going to be. Versus like if you fight somebody at at a high level where he fights some top 50 or top 100 type of guy, then I'd be like, all right, cool. At least that makes me want to come see you again, because you're demanding those type of opposition. So I think Bruce is going to head into the right direction, but I like to see him succeed now rather than doing it later. Because if you do it later, the competition is going to get better, and you don't know how much better you're getting, before you get into a fight. And there's just too much on the line when you come into the sport late. For some weird reason, boxing fans are so, evangelically, idiotic to believe that you have to keep winning just to make it to the high level. And that's not true, because Lomachenko lost and he was able to get his title shot right away, in which obviously he was a hopeless fighter. So top ranking Bob Arum was able to have the fix in place to help out Lomachenko. And obviously, people would say, well, look at Teofimo being placed number two, or number two in the WBO, and it looks like he's gonna fight Liam Pero for that title shot. And like, my response is just that, yes, like there is no proper way to elevate your career while you're while you have losses on your record, because everyone I'm pretty sure to any fighter out there that does listen to me, they would publicly come out and say, like, winning is all that matters now in boxing, because the minute you lose is like the minute you destroy your possibilities of making more money. And I can definitely agree with that, because boxing is such a disorganized sport, and whoever's controlling the money at the biggest network stables, they'll definitely rat you out real quick. And that's why people are so mentally retarded when it comes to losing in boxing, because it's like all the greats have lost, and guess what? They've made a crap load of more money every time that they lost, to come back and start winning again. So if anything, the losses are actually just lessons. And that's how I've always been taught to view losses. Losses are more like desires for you to get better. And they're just, like, basically lesson learners to help you understand, what you did wrong. And then on top of that, you're not, just like outbested by the better opposition. I mean, granted, there will be people out there in any sport where they just got your number. They just understand you enough to break you down and basically read you like a book. But at the end of the day, if they're on their worst night and you're able to beat them, then good, you're able to beat them. But it's like, in the sport of boxing, a lot of fighters don't want that. They don't want their bad style matchup nightmare come to life all the time with 50-50 matchups. Because if people actually started demanding that, then a lot of these fighters that duck now would be ducking a lot more. But the only way that you actually do get rid of ducking in the sport of boxing is that, one, you have to start marketizing high level 50-50 matchup fights. That's why promotional stables like the PBC they have so many good 50-50 fights, like fights that you never knew that was going to be 50-50 until you start seeing the guys or the girls just start fighting, and they just start, hyper scaling very, very well. And I really did, like, I really did, enjoy those PBC, Wednesday night or Thursday night or Friday night fights where you saw like some really, really good level fights. And till this day, like, their video replays get millions, if not thousands of views, and they just do such a great job promoting the fighters the right way. But on top of that, the PBC is operating similar to the UFC, where they're forcing the best fight in the best type of fights. Granted, PBC is not there yet as far as being its own type of organization per se, but let's just say if it was to be like a UFC where fighters can control their careers, and you seen like you see all the best fights made that are 50-50 matchups, then that would definitely make boxing change. And I've always been a huge advocate of having fight leagues to take over the sport instead of having promoters, because it's like, honestly, at the end of the day, it's like the promoters are the ones screwing over the fighters, and you don't know what's going to happen prior to a fight where the promoter could be sick enough to the head to screw up the fighter, and then the fighter doesn't have too much leverage to actually make a comeback to win. So either way, that's a different discussion. But to finalize on Bruce's legacy, is that he is a damn good fighter. He just needs to prove it more with what he possesses, and I think eventually he'll be champion very soon. He just needs to start pushing his career the right way, and he'll be there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Figured I drop my thoughts on him. And yeah, man. Let me know what y'all think. And yeah, this is K-Rod signing out. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.